Hi you guys. Today you're going to continue to work on these handouts that you started yesterday. I've checked them and they're going to be given back to you today, and you need to finish them up. Most of you did not finish the last page on asking questions and plot. And I want to go over the directions on this even better. So what they're doing here for each one of these is they're giving you a quote from the story, and then they're saying you need to think of 4 good questions to ask. So for example, this quote says, in the vegetable below was a letter box into which no letter would go. So one question could be, what does the word vegetable mean? Vestibule mean. And then another thing that this says is, and there was an electric button from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. So in other words, nobody wanted to ring the doorbell. Why can't anyone coax a ring from the doorbell? So they're asking 4 questions about this quote. Now in the first 2, they give you the quote, and they even help you by giving you a couple questions, and then you have to think of 2 more good questions. But when you get to the next 2, because it says to add 2 more right here in the directions, when you get to the next 2, there's no quote. So you have to go to the story, and you have to find a good quote, and you have to think of your own 4 questions. Okay, so there were 8 total here. So after you're done, there should be 16 questions total. You're not answering the questions, you're just thinking of them, but they need to be quality questions. I know this is not a lot of space. You're gonna have to write small and try to fit this in here. So if you didn't do that right yesterday, you're gonna need to go back and fix that. For a plot diagram, think of this as like a timeline of the story. And what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to write a little line for each thing that happens in the story. So we know when the story starts, it's Christmas and Della has $1.87. So you're gonna write that. You would write it's Christmas and Della has $1.87. And then you have to think, well, what's the next thing that happens in the story? So you have to go back through the story and look at each thing that happens, and you need to put little marks on there like this, and it's like a timeline for the story, except the things that happen, you have to think of where do they fall. So exposition, what are the things that happen in the story at the beginning to set it up? When does the problem occur, and what's the rising action? When does the climax? In other words, what's the most intense or high point of the story? And that is what would go here. And then falling action is the things that happen after the most intense part of the story. And then the resolution. So for example, if I was doing this for Mice and Men, I would put, George and Lenny are walking towards the ranch, George and Lenny get to the ranch, and then there's the rising action because things start to happen, like a fight happens with Curly, there's tension with the wife, and then the climax would be, when Lenny snaps the wife's neck, and then I would put, here he runs and hides in the bush, and George finds him and has a talk with him, and then the resolution is, George kills Lenny and then walks off with Wheat. So you have to plot everything out on here that goes for the story. Same deal as yesterday. Whatever you have done today, you're going to turn into the sub. I will be back tomorrow, and it will be tutoring day on Friday.